Chapter 12, The Spread of Civilizations in East and Southeast Asia. How did China's culture develop and influence its neighbors in the East and Southeast Asia? And as we'll find out in Section 5, India plays a pretty key role in the development of that part of the world. First section, Section 1, Two Golden Ages of China, describe political, economic, cultural achievements of the Tang and Sung dynasties. So by the end of the section, these are the things you should be able to do. Summarize how the Tang dynasty unified China, how the Song dynasty grew rich and powerful, discuss how China created an ordered society, and describe the cultural achievements of those two dynasties. So if we look at key terms and places, compelled, land reform, gentry, dowry, pagoda, and here is a picture of a pagoda. So if we look at the Tang dynasty reunifying, after the last dynasty, China was kind of in disorder. It was being heavily influenced by warlords that kind of controlled and dominated, and it was a period of lots of outside attacks. And so after this 400-year period of no one dynasty kind of being able to unify things and get things put together, the Tang are able to do that. And you can see that they expanded a lot of Central Asia in the process of this, and you can see the major roads. So this would be the Silk Road. So a lot of their success and dominance is influenced by being able to control that trade route. So if we look at government and economy, they go back to the Han system of civil service and Confucian schools. And so I would say that's one thing when you look at how were they able to create an ordered society. The structure, the foundation for that ordered society has been there for a long time. They just build on what was already there. And the other thing that they did is they'd go through a series of land reform where they're going to redistribute land. By giving land to poor peasants, you're going to increase your tax base because now you have more people who are farming and producing and able to pay into taxes. And so, like many of the other dynasties in many other places around the world, sooner or later these dynasties kind of lose a grip on their vision and mission, and you get corruption, high taxes, drought, and famine. So they're replaced by the Sung dynasty. Under the Sung, despite outside attacks, they really expand the economy. Besides improving farming, they have an open border, which leads to more importation of things, especially faster growing rice. The other key thing that they do is they build the Grand Canal, which links these major cities to rivers, but also to each other. And that Grand Canal is going to be used to do a lot of the transportation. So here's a picture of that Grand Canal in more modern times. And so this allows these grains from the grain growing region to be moved north. If we look at the technology, we've got gunpowder, a mechanical clock, and movable type are all things that the Sung dynasty and Tang dynasty were working with and perfecting. And they're going to kind of get exported to other places, but pretty big key achievements for this period of time. If we look at China's ordered society, social pyramid like we've talked about before, the gentry, which are these wealthy landowners, they're the ones who can really afford to spend the time and the money on getting their kids educated, but they can send their kids to Confucian schools, and then through those schools they'll be able to take the civil service exam and be able to get a pretty good job in the government. The vast majority of people are peasants, working the land, growing the food. You see merchants, they have the lowest status, and in Asia in general, they tend, at least at this time, to not value merchants as much as other places, and it's the attitude that society has that merchants live off the fruits of other workers, that peasants have to grow the food, and then they have to trade with merchants to get things, and that merchants get wealthy off of other people's work, essentially. The status of women, dowries. Dowries are the money or land or property or things that the wife's family pays to the groom's family, and then they have the practice of foot binding. Okay, the Tang and Sung develop a rich culture. Again, they're kind of building off of past Chinese traditions. So if you look at, for example, the artist, the Chinese always liked balance and harmony in landscapes, and so they're just building on the past. When you look at architecture, these Buddhist themes, these Buddhist temples, pagoda styles, those are heavily introduced and built all throughout these two dynasties. Probably the thing that they're most known for is their porcelain work, which becomes known as Chinaware. I mean, that's how dominant it is. And if we look at Chinese writing at the time of culture, the Tang and the Sung are more into poetry, and so that tends to be the most respected form. And so we get a lot of rich poetry from this period of Chinese history.